Welcome to the Test Management Mindset, insights into the world of software testing. The best content by PractiTest in audio form, designed to keep you inspired wherever you are. In today's episode, we're on the topic of migrating from Quality Center to PractiTest and how to prepare for a painless upgrade. Let's get started.
Hey everyone. So you know how we're always looking for ways to up our game in software testing? Well, today we're really going to dig deep and ask ourselves, are our trusty testing tools actually holding us back?
Interesting question.
Yeah, and to help us answer that, we're taking a closer look at this insightful YouTube video featuring Joel Montvelisky.
Oh, Joel's great. A true veteran in the testing world.
Right. And what makes his perspective even more interesting is that he's the co-founder of PractiTest, but he also has this deep history with Quality Center. He actually managed their testing team back in the Mercury Interactive days.
That's right. So he's seen it all.
Exactly. And that really comes through in the video. It's not just about bashing Quality Center, which by the way, is now called Micro Focus ALMQC. He acknowledges its strengths and the reasons why so many teams still rely on it.
Absolutely. Familiarity, reliability, that tight integration with other HP tools. It's comfortable, like those old pair of jeans you can't bring yourself to toss out.
Totally. But just like those comfy jeans, it might be missing some of the features and flexibility of a modern, more, purpose-built tool.
Exactly.
Okay, so let's get into it, shall we? Joel lays out 6 key challenges of sticking with ALMQC in today's fast-paced software development world.
Yeah, let's hear them.
So challenge number 1 is a big one, the on-premise versus cloud-based dilemma.
Ah, yes. That's where his insider experience really shines through.
Right. He emphasizes that we're not just talking about simply hosting your existing setup on AWS or something. It's a fundamentally different approach to how software is built, delivered, and importantly, maintained.
Absolutely. And that has huge implications for your team and your budget.
Huge. He actually shares this great anecdote about seamlessly working with a cloud-based solution while he was on a beach in Mexico.
I love that story.
Right. I don't know about you, but I can't picture myself doing that with my on-premise Quality Center setup.
No way.
And that really highlights the core advantages of cloud solutions, right? Cost-effectiveness, effortless scalability, and practically zero maintenance since, it's all handled for you.
Right. It's like, would you rather be tied to maintaining a house or enjoy the flexibility of renting a fully serviced apartment?
Oh, that's a perfect analogy. It really gets at that agility and flexibility that cloud solutions like PractiTest are known for.
Exactly. And that agility is essential in today's fast-paced development world.
Speaking of keeping pace, Joel's second challenge is something I know you're passionate about, staying ahead of those testing trends.
It's something that keeps me up at night.
Me too, honestly. And Joel argues that modern testing has evolved way beyond what Quality Center was initially designed to handle.
I think he's right.
Now we're talking about BDD testing, using tools like Cucumber and SpecFlow to really bridge that gap between business language and technical implementation.
Right. It's not just about testing anymore. It's about making sure everyone's on the same page from day one.
Exactly. And we can't forget about exploratory testing, which is
hugely important. And Quality Center doesn't really lend itself well to that. It's more about scripted testing.
Right. And exploratory testing is how you find those really tricky edge cases that those scripted tests always miss.
Absolutely. It's where those unexpected bugs like to hide.
Okay, so from there, Joel jumps into what he calls the, and I quote, infamous test plan tree. And he really doesn't hold back here.
He's speaking from experience.
For sure. He describes testers feeling totally lost and frustrated with Quality Center's rigid folder structure when they're trying to manage test cases.
It's like trying to find a needle in a haystack, right?
Exactly. And he even quotes someone, I can't remember who, describing it as, and again, I quote, lost in a notion of data. Have you ever felt that way?
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Especially when you're dealing with these massive test suites, sometimes it feels like the tool's working against you,
Totally. And that's exactly the problem Joel's highlighting. As those test suites grow, that rigid structure becomes a real bottleneck.
Right. You start seeing duplicate test cases because no one can find the ones that already exist.
Oh, I've been there.
Or even worse, you end up with gaps in your testing because you've completely overlooked entire areas.
So how does PractiTest deal with this? They obviously recognize that this was a pain point.
Well, they basically threw out those rigid folders.
Oh, really? Okay, so no more folders at all.
Well, they replaced them with what they call filter trees or hierarchical filters. Think of it this way. Imagine you could instantly reorganize a giant library.
Okay, I like where you're going with this.
You can use any criteria you can think of. Author, genre, publication date. It's all about flexibility.
So instead of being stuck with that one view of your test cases, you can slice and dice them in countless ways.
Precisely. And that makes finding what you need so much easier, especially when you're dealing with those massive test suites we talked about.
And that leads perfectly into Joel's fourth challenge, which is this whole integration puzzle. Today's teams are using a ton of different tools.
It's a jungle out there.
Yeah.
Jira, Azure DevOps, you name it, someone's probably using it.
Seriously. So it's
Yeah.
like we're not making testing complex enough on our own, right?
Right. And Joel makes a good point. Quality Center, it plays nicely within the HP ecosystem. But venture outside those walls, and things can get messy.
And he's got the data to back it up, too. He mentions the State of Testing survey. Did you know that teams are using an average of 5 to 12 different automation tools?
Wow. Yeah, that's a recipe for integration headaches if I've ever heard one.
For sure. And this is where PractiTest is pushing this idea of test orchestration.
Yeah, it's a really interesting concept. It's about having one central hub to manage all those different testing tools.
So it doesn't matter who makes them. It's one source of truth for your whole testing process.
Exactly.
It's going to be a dream come true for a lot of teams. But, and I hate to be a downer here, but all this advanced functionality has to come at a cost, right?
And this is where Joel brings up a really important point, those hidden costs of sticking with legacy tools.
So he's not just talking about those hefty licensing fees.
No, he digs deeper. He talks about the ongoing maintenance costs, the pressure to stay within that HP ecosystem because you're afraid of integration issues, and the lost productivity from those clunky workflows and inefficient tools. It all adds up.
It's like that old saying, you get what you pay for, or in this case, you might actually be paying more for less.
Exactly. And that brings us to, I think, one of Joel's most relatable points, the fear of migration.
Because it's one thing to recognize that your current tools have limitations. It's another thing entirely to take the leap and switch to a whole new platform.
Right. And he gets that. He talks about the fear of losing data during the migration, the dreaded downtime, the sheer complexity of moving away from a system that's so ingrained in your workflows.
So is there a solution? How do you make this transition less painful?
Well, that's where this dedicated migration tool from PractiTest comes in. And it's not like those brute force data dumps, which are messy and prone to errors.
Right, because those never work out well.
He stresses that they design their tool to preserve all your testing data.
We're talking test cases, execution history, user data, attachments, everything.
Everything. They even go the extra mile to replicate those familiar folder structures as filters in PractiTest. So it's not a jarring change for your team.
Oh, that's smart. So it eases that transition, helps people find what they need. They're not left scrambling trying to figure out a new system.
Exactly. But what really impressed me, they don't just leave you to figure it out on your own. They offer expert support throughout the entire migration process.
Really? So they're with you every step of the way?
Absolutely. Planning, execution, validation, the whole 9 yards. It's like hiring a moving company that not only transports your stuff, but helps you unpack and get settled in your new home.
That's huge, especially for large organizations with tons of data. It sounds like they've really thought about the entire process. But even with all these advantages, I'm really intrigued by something Joel mentions toward the end of the video. He briefly touches on this idea of AI-driven test management. It almost feels like a glimpse into the future of testing.
It's a fascinating idea. And it really connects back to the challenges we've been talking about with legacy tools. Imagine AI helping us break free from all those rigid structures and manual processes so we can actually focus on what matters.
Right.
Delivering high-quality software.
It'd be like having a super intelligent assistant, right? Analyzing your code, your test data, even your team's workflow, and then optimizing everything.
Exactly. And we're already seeing the beginning of that with some AI-powered test automation tools. But what Joel describes feels much bigger. Imagine AI helping you prioritize which tests to run based on real-time risk, or automatically generating test cases directly from user stories, or even predicting potential defects before they happen.
Wow, that's next level. It'd be like having a crystal ball to help you squash bugs before they impact users. But even if that's a little way off, I think the big takeaway from Joel's talk is that we can't afford to just stand still.
I agree. The tech landscape is changing so rapidly, we can't just accept the status quo.
We have to constantly ask ourselves, are our current tools and processes really serving us? Or are they holding us back?
Exactly. It's not about chasing every shiny new object. It's about being honest about what's working and what's not, and then being brave enough to make a change.
So, as any of this resonates with you, if you're tired of those integration headaches, or you're drowning in test cases, or you just feel like you could be getting more out of your testing, well, it might be time to explore some alternatives.
It might be time to spark your own testing revolution.
Yeah, and who knows, that deep dive into a new tool or a new approach, it might just be the thing that completely transforms your testing process. So until next time, keep those testing questions coming, and we'll keep digging deeper to find the answers.